One thing I always find astounding is really the lack of understanding and just the raw ignorance of alcohol use disorder. And unfortunately, I really come to the conclusion that unless a person has lived through the experience to some extent, either they've had a family member who maybe have succumbed or had a long history of alcoholism, and then maybe we're able to survive and really get it into remission, or an alcoholic who has gone through the different stages and somehow put it in remission or succumbed to the disease, and the people in their life really understand what's been going on with them, and they're able to have a perspective and really get into the alcoholic mind, and then understanding what you go through as a family member. It's a completely different experience from someone who's never had the experience of having lived with an alcoholic in their family. So many people are reactionary and they don't really understand and aren't able to really step back and understand why that person is doing what they're doing. It seems to be so irrational. It seems to be, why do people put themselves in harm's way? I mean, somebody has diabetes, they're morbidly obese, they have DUIs, they have all kinds of health issues, they have heart issues, they have liver issues, pancreatic issues, and they still continue to drink. It doesn't seem rational. This is why it's a mental health disease. It's an alcohol use disorder. Understanding this, understanding how people are shaped to go down this road is so important. And it's important to reverse engineer it and to understand, so that the average person that may or may not had this experience really understand it. And that's a big part of what this page is ultimately about. Again, I have a complete coaching program that's designed to help the alcoholic and the family member educate the family and really concentrate on the alcoholic's sobriety, sustainable sobriety. Again, link is in the bio. Set up a breakthrough call. It takes about 45 minutes or so. We do a deep dive into what's going on with you and your family. Now, the call is free. The course is definitely not. But I'm looking for people who want to change their life and the life of their family. Now, this really speaks to the people who really come from the school of thought that it's a choice. Alcohol use disorder is a choice, and they double down on that. It's a choice, and if you don't think it's a choice, then you're telling me that if it's a disease or if it's a disorder, then that takes away the person's culpability, and they're not responsible for their own actions. They're not responsible for their consumption of alcohol. And then you're releasing them that obligation, and it's not their responsibility. Then whose responsibility is it? It has to be somebody's responsibility. Somebody has to take responsibility for this, and that they're really into that. And I get this argument every day. And what these people are not understanding is that they're missing the point completely, and they don't really have it. They're not grasping what's really happening at all. And I'll continue. Because 50% or 50 to 60% of the people who do suffer from alcohol use disorder have a thing called genetic disposition and family culture. Now, you mix those two. Genetic disposition means on a chromosomal level, ADH1B and ALDH2 will give you a genetic predisposition to having an alcoholic disorder later in life. Most of those people, unfortunately, will grow up in a family environment where it is culturally acceptable to drink. In fact, it's normalized. You're almost weird if you don't drink. Your parents drink, your grandparents drank, your siblings, cousins, friends, neighbors. Everybody drinks in your environment, or the vast majority of people do, and you're introduced to that at an impressionable age. Most people start their alcoholic career between the ages of 13 and 20. When you're impressionable, you're not even mentally mature until the age of 25. Biologically, you're not even mature till you're 25 years old, and you've already been consumed with drink. So culturally, you're already on the hook. But hey, it's a choice. And then there's the people that kind of have the mentality that, it's a character issue, or it's a moral issue, that they're immoral because they suffer from this disease, this alcoholism, and they can't stop drinking. Well, they're immoral then. Or it's a character issue. They just come from a bad family. They come from a bad part of town. I mean, this kind of nonsense. Or the person just is weak-minded. They're a weak person because they've been consumed with alcohol. Okay, well, tell that to somebody who came back from Vietnam with PTSD or Iraq or Iran or Afghanistan, who had to kill people to survive, watch their friends die by the boatloads, and they're supposed to come back in society and be normal. And of course, you're not supposed to use any kind of substance because that would be a weak-minded person. Okay, same thing is for first responders, domestically, firemen, ambulance drivers, doctors, people, nurses and doctors who work in emergency rooms, surgeons, dentists, for example, people that have very high stressful jobs can be subjected to alcohol use disorder. But, they're weak-minded and they're immoral, apparently, to some people that have this train of thought. This is another type of thing that needs to be exposed for the nonsense that it is. So what a lot of people don't understand, especially the it's a choice people, it's a character flaw, it's a moral issue people, what they don't understand is that anybody could potentially get caught into the web of alcohol use disorder. Could be a genetic disposition, could be a cultural disposition as you grow up, could be trauma, which is a big part of it. I mean, trauma exists for a lot of things. It could be replacing stress, anxiety, and all the other things that we've talked about. Repressed emotions, schizophrenia, bipolar, borderline personality disorder, introversion, social awkwardness, all kinds of things. This is how people start, and this is how they continue. We have to stop judging people and understand and reverse engineer it to get these people the proper help and really to educate the people around them. Reactionary emotions of shame and guilt are not going to help anybody. It's not going to help the family members, and it's definitely not going to help the alcoholic in the family. And again, if you haven't heard by now, Amanda, A Cautionary Tale of Alcoholism, the memoir. It's the story of my wife's 25-year decline with alcohol use disorder, and she passed away a little over 5 years ago. Again, the link is in the link tree on this page. It's also available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and the Apple website for the ebook. Apple also has the hard copy, and there is also a link on my page for international orders outside the United States. And again, thanks so much for listening.